Story 1. The silence in the zone is a physical thing. It's not just an absence of noise. It's a heavy blanket woven from dust, time, and unseen poison. I'd been inside the exclusion zone a dozen times, a stalker, as they call us, guiding the morbidly curious or documenting the decay for my own grim collection. I thought I was immune to its ghosts. I knew the creaks and groans of dying buildings, the rustle of mutated voles in the dry leaves. I respected the place, but I didn't fear it. Not until my last trip to the Pripyat kindergarten. My dosimeter was my rosary, its steady rhythmic clicking a constant prayer against the invisible god of this place. That day, the clicks were low, a calm heartbeat. I was alone, moving through the shell of the city under a sky the color of lead. I decided to visit the kindergarten, a place I usually avoided. It's a popular spot for photographers, a macabre theater of scattered dolls and tiny, rusting cots. The pathos of it always felt too loud, too staged. But the silence drew me in. Inside, the air was thick with the smell of mold and plaster dust. Glass crunched under my boots like brittle bones. In one room, children's gas masks, small and disturbingly alien, were strewn across the floor, their round eye lenses staring up at the peeling ceiling. I was framing a shot of a doll with one vacant blue eye, its plastic face caked in grime, when I first heard it. A giggle. It was faint, so faint I thought it was the wind whistling through a broken window pane. I froze, my breath catching in my throat. The clicks of my dosimeter were the only reply. An animal, I told myself. A fox cub, maybe. But the sound had been too clean, too human. I lowered my camera and listened. The building settled around me, groaning its ancient complaints. Nothing. I shook my head, my own mind playing tricks on me in this desolate chapel of forgotten childhoods. I moved on to the next room, a playroom dominated by a single wooden rocking horse. Its paint was chipped away, revealing the pale wood beneath, and one of its yarn-tail strands lay unraveled on the floor. That's when it happened again. Louder this time. A clear, distinct peal of a little girl's laughter, echoing from just down the hallway. My blood went cold. Every stalker instinct screamed at me. This wasn't the wind. This wasn't an animal. I slowly backed away from the playroom, my eyes fixed on the dark maw of the corridor. The silence returned, now heavier, more menacing than before. My dosimeter's clicks seemed to quicken, matching the frantic rhythm of my heart. Then, a new sound began. A soft, rhythmic creak, creak, creak. Against all reason, I peered back into the playroom. The wooden horse was moving. It rocked back and forth on its curved runners, a slow, deliberate motion, as if an unseen child were riding it. The sound of the giggle returned, seeming to come from the horse itself. It wasn't joyful. It was a cold, empty mimicry of laughter. I raised my dosimeter, my hand trembling. The needle, which had been resting in the safe green zone, shot into the red. The calm clicks erupted into a frantic, screaming shriek. The sound was deafening, a raw, electronic panic. The radiation wasn't coming from the walls, or the floor, or the dust in the air. It was pouring off that rocking horse. The source was concentrated right where a small child would sit. It hit me then, a realization more terrifying than any ghost story. This wasn't a spirit. This was a memory. An echo burned into the very atoms of the place. The girl who played on this horse, who laughed in this room, had left something of herself behind. Not a soul, but a residue. A lethal, radioactive stain in the shape of a child, still playing in the poisoned silence. The horse rocked faster. The dosimeter shrieked. The laughter twisted into a sound of pure static and malice. I didn't wait to see what happened next. I turned and ran. I fled through the decaying halls, the sound of the screaming Geiger counter and the phantom laughter chasing me. I didn't stop until I was back in the dead streets of Pripyat, gasping in the contaminated air, the accusatory clicks of my dosimeter a permanent echo in my skull. I never went back. I tell people the zone is haunted, and they nod. thinking of ghosts and ghouls. They don't understand. The true horror of Chernobyl isn't what's dead. It's what refuses to die. The invisible memories that fester in the silence, waiting to play. Story 2. The air in the zone has a taste. It's a flat, metallic tang that coats your tongue, a constant reminder that you're breathing in a ghost. I was a stalker, one of the fools who slips past the checkpoints for the thrill, the photos, the morbid poetry of it all. I'd been in a dozen times, thought I was hardened to the silence and the sorrow. I was wrong. This trip was different. I was pushing deeper, toward the less trafficked apartment blocks on the edge of Pripyat. My goal was a kindergarten, a place I'd heard was left almost untouched. Dusk was bleeding across the sky in bruised purples and reds as I slipped into a 9-story concrete husk. Its windows were hollow eyes staring out at the skeletal Ferris wheel, a permanent monument to a May Day that never came. The only sound was the crunch of glass and debris under my boots, and the steady, reassuring click, click, click of my dosimeter. It was my heartbeat in this dead place. I moved through the ground floor, my flashlight beam cutting through the gloom, revealing a world frozen in 1986. A mold-caked teddy bear slumped in a corner, its button eyes seeming to follow me. Peeling wallpaper depicted cheerful cartoon animals, their smiles now grotesque in the decay. That's when I first heard it. It was faint, almost imagined, drifting down from the floors above. A melody, a lullaby, soft and hauntingly simple. My blood went cold. My first thought was another stalker, a rival. But who would be humming a lullaby in the heart of Pripyat at nightfall? The sound was too clean, too pure for this rotten place. I killed my light and listened, my breath catching in the filter of my respirator. Silence. Then, again. A woman's voice, humming a tune as old as motherhood itself. It was coming from upstairs. Every instinct screamed at me to leave, to run back into the radioactive twilight and not stop until I hit the checkpoint. But a morbid curiosity, the same damn impulse that brought me here, took hold. With my heart hammering against my ribs, I started up the stairs, my hand gripping my heavy flashlight like a club. The humming grew stronger with each floor. It was serene, yet utterly terrifying in its context. The air grew colder, a damp, penetrating chill that had nothing to do with the autumn evening. My dosimeter, which had been clicking along at a steady rhythm, began to stutter, its pace picking up. Click, 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 click. 5th floor. The humming was clear now, echoing softly in the concrete stairwell. It was coming from an apartment at the end of the hall, its door slightly ajar. A deep, primal dread settled in my gut. This was wrong. This place was a tomb, silent and empty. Sound, especially a sound so full of life, was a violation. The dosimeter was chattering furiously now, a frantic insect buzzing a warning. The needle was climbing into the orange zone, a hot spot, right here. I pushed the door open. The groan of its rusted hinges was deafening. My light sliced into the room. It was a child's bedroom. A small wooden crib stood against the far wall. The wallpaper, adorned with faded rockets and planets, was peeling away in long strips. The air was thick with the smell of mold and something else. Something like ozone, like the air after a lightning strike. The room was empty, but the humming was here. It was all around me, emanating from the very walls, from the empty space above the crib. It was a sound without a source, a perfect, heartbreaking lullaby sung by no one. My dosimeter screamed, the needle deep in the red. I was standing in a pocket of intense radiation, far higher than anything I'd ever encountered. The humming swirled around me, and for a heart-stopping second, it felt like it solidified. I felt a pressure, a profound weight of sorrow that was so immense it was physical. It was the grief of a mother, a memory so powerful it had burned itself into the very atoms of this place, forever singing to a child who was no longer there. Then, the humming stopped. In the crushing silence that followed, a new sound arose from the empty crib. A soft, weak sob, I didn't scream. The sound was trapped in my throat, a choked, desperate gasp for air that my respirator wouldn't grant. I stumbled backward, tripping over something, and scrambled out of that room, out of that building. I ran blindly through the decaying city, the dosimeter's shrieking alarm the soundtrack to my terror. I never went back. Sometimes, in the dead of night, when the house is quiet, I can still hear it. The faint, ghostly melody that haunts the sarcophagus of Pripyat. It's a reminder that some things don't die. They just wait. And the true horror of Chernobyl isn't the radiation you can measure, but the sorrow you can't.